Welcome back to Friday Heavy, your guide to the world of aggressive and abrasive and loud and weird and things music. Brought to you by the folks behind Toondig. I am Cliff.
And I'm Kyle.
So each episode of Friday Heavy, we cover three things. We cover one brand new release and why we think it'll be worth a spin for you. We cover one playlist that we've curated to help explore a heavy subgenre, artist, or scene, or something like that. And then we also cover one organization doing critical culture impacting work in their community so you can do something with all that energy, because we like to remind people that punk is not just a genre. It's more than that.
It's a state of mind.
Better be a state of action. So let's get into it. Our new release this week we want to talk about is Soul Glo, Diaspora Problems. This is actually coming out March 25th, so a week after you're maybe hearing this podcast. But it's the release that we're most excited about in this range, and so we are totally bringing it forward and covering it.
It's also nice to just be able to say the name of a Soul Glo album title.
I was going to very cleverly relate or think about albums in the past and just let people find out for themselves why we didn't actually say any of them.
Surprise.
Hell yeah.
They do a good job. I don't remember. I think it's on their Instagram where they ask their white drummer. They interview him and then they throw to the other guys in the band to say the album title. So they handle all of that stuff sort of cleverly. I think we'll build over a number of points about why this band is so interesting and exciting.
Yeah. Clever is a good place to start though. It'll give you the right key. Yeah. So Soul Glo is a Philly-based punk or hardcore band. Those words mean whatever they mean at this point, but it'll get you in the right space. And they kind of strike this impossible balance of seriousness and lightheartedness, and there's no lack of energy ever. And it's wild because it's this kind of fast and chaotic punk, and yet it'll pretty gleefully give way to something approximating noise rap on a regular occasion.
Yeah, I mean, the word that comes to mind for me is fearlessness. There was an interview with, I think it's WXBN, the local kind of alternative radio station, has featured them a number of times over the years. And they went down a rabbit hole talking about Dembo, talking about a Caribbean club music, and how they were whatever we're listening to, it's going to find its way into the music somehow. And yet on the flip side of it, you can hear that they're pushing at edges and they're right at the seams of this should not work, but it works specifically for the reason that it's them and only them. It's a very one of one formula. I equate everything in that vein back to Iggy Pop, and only Iggy Pop could pull this off. But everything about this band is literally only this group of people could pull this off.
Yep. And I love all of the edge pushing without all of having to focus on how artistically gifted they are for pushing edges and constantly focusing on what a big production it would be to be artistic. No, they're just creative and they're out there with it. And they've been kind of storming the zeitgeist lately, especially since 2020's 12-minute EP Songs to Yeet at the Sun got some positive coverage. And they recently signed to Epitaph and released another EP, one of which Kyle was alluding to earlier last year. But the
two of them, right? There was a volume 1 and a volume 2.
Yeah, but the volume 2 is the one that's released by Epitaph, if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And so, but the singles coming off this upcoming release are as promising as anything. And so we're really hoping Epitaph puts some weights behind these dudes and gives them the attention they deserve, because they're really getting some key moments. They're on My Chemical Romance is doing a big tour, and they're doing that thing where they're, spinning through a lot of headliners in different cities. And there's one that's lining up in North Carolina that's My Chemical Romance, Turnstile, and Soul Glo. And I mean, that's such a good lineup. It's got me considering going to a My Chemical Romance show.
Across state lines.
It would take that much to convince me if it were in my own backyard, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, not to say that My Chem's not super rad. That bill is extraordinary, and I'm very earnestly excited about the fact that that is a thing. But yeah, it's strange to be in a position where I'm that excited about that.
Yep. Well, from 2016 to 2021, Soul Glo was putting together this album that they're about to release, according to them. And quote, they did it nearly completely alone. I love the simple and direct, punk statements behind it, right? They're writing about this whole record. This is a huge release for them. It's a huge opportunity. And they're just talking about, well, we kind of did it ourselves. Demo and tracking was handled exclusively by the bassist and engineer and close friend, Evan Bernard. Final tracks were recorded in a same unfinished warehouse in the band's practice space during the hottest parts of summer 2021. Like, that's what they choose to let us know about their story. And I'm super into that.
It's definitely a breath of fresh air. There's so much about dropping into their world that feels like Trash Talk did 10 or 12 years ago.
100%. Where you're like,
this is a complete world that feels like it's existed for a really long time, and I'm on the outside of an inside thing, and I want to get inside the thing like absolutely as soon as possible. They have sort of their whole ecosystem conceived already.
Trash Talk's the band that kept coming to mind when I kept listening to More Souls.
Yeah. I mean, and not sonically, right? I mean, sonically, right. I think the only thing that I hear in both bands is, and less so on the later Trash Talk stuff, like a real separation. There's a crispness to the recordings that they're not like too clean, too polished, but you can definitely hear a little bit of space in the mix. So there, like to your point, there is a sophistication. There's like a real professionalism to how they're doing it, and I think all that helps step up the how seriously should I take this from the extremely chaotic like DIY flyer energy of the whole thing.
Yeah. So let's spin a couple of singles real fast before we just kind of give this a recommendation and say, hey, hold on for a week or go spend some money with the band. So first of all, I mentioned the swap from punk to noise rap. So prepare yourself for the dichotomy of these two singles. All right. So first up is Jump or Get Jumped by The Future, which if you look at it stylistically has a lot more parentheses and exclamation points than I just pronounced. And that's kind of like the single we're looking for from the Philly hardcore vets, right? And on top of it, we're going to play the single here, but go grab the music video version because it's got an intro that is hilarious and worth your time.
And then there's like some Whiplash inspiration. It's again, I was watching that video like, oh, these dudes are clever. They're doing a thing.
But then coming back from that, their most recent single, Driponomics, has got Philly rapper Mother Mary Rose trading verses with the frontman of Soul Glow. And as Stereo Gum puts it, quote, it's a get money track for a very different era. But then coming back from that, their most recent single, Driponomics, has got Philly rapper Mother Mary Rose trading verses with the frontman of Soul Glow. And as Stereo Gum puts it, quote, it's a get money track for a very different era.
Do you feel me? They want to persecute me because I get money responsibly, ethically.
So that was different. That was different than the first thing we played. Like one of the things the band says about it is Driponomics is for everyone doing what they have to do to get by and get fly. Oftentimes lower income and working class people are criticized for how they survive out here, especially in times of crisis. And people are getting more desperate, but simultaneously more creative with their income options. And this song is a salute to that. Like they're aware of it and they still don't have to take it too seriously. And this is like exactly what I'm looking for all the time, basically.
So there were a couple of things as like a huge Atlanta rap guy that jumped out to me. One is the cadence, like the vocal delivery of this vocalist is astounding. I don't know when he breathes, but I hear two things that I really like in it. Like he does the jazzo flow, the sort of old school cut above New York type of thing, and then also switches back and forth into triplet cadences, like the real Atlanta trappy thing and does it really effortlessly. So going back to that thing about fearlessness with influences, like young people don't care about any of that shit, right? But it's cool to consider like how many touch points an artist has sort of absorbed. And one of the things that I really like about younger artists, and I know we've talked about this on the main podcast in a couple of different contexts, is like all of like a generation of genre bending and blending has led to things like this. Like music like this, I don't think would have been possible and cool 25 years ago.
Possible and cool. Yep, that's the right combination. Right. It wasn't possible.
It was possible. It just wasn't. It wasn't cool
yet.
We
watched a ton of people try. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God.
So check out Diaspora Problems out next Friday, March 25th on Epitaph. Like we will always tell you, go listen to it however you want, and then go send the band your money by going to shows and buying merch or just sending them dollars, because that's actually the best way to get them money, not your singular Spotify stream. So that's the release this week. Let's talk about our curated playlist. Kyle, what you got?
The message that I sent you when I built this playlist was, here we go, over 20 songs under 40 minutes, LOL. I love this kind of music. It's like Soul Glo spiritually inspires me in the type of thing that they're trying to do, energy. And we're in an insane place for underground punk. I know it's like hard to dredge through and find the stuff that feels like you'd see the logo of the band on a DIY photocopied flyer. But there are a ton of bands out there. They're really cool. I got to shout out Sam Velde. He is in Obliterations. He was in a band called Night Horse. He's a music supervisor. He does music supervision for Van. And so a lot of the like cool stuff like Soul Glo, I tend to find through him. He's like one of those Questlove type people where you know it's always going to be different and it's always going to be cool and like have cred. So his band Obliterations is on here. Candy is on here. They're a band that I really, really love a lot. So all the like coolest, gnarliest, raddest, I would go see it automatic, no questions asked type shit, like Get in the Pit and Love Someone bands. A lot of that is in here. It's a really good time for this type of music. So, you know, enjoy this as your natural Red Bull or cocaine alternative or whatever, and follow some of these bands on Instagram and go try to check them out at underground, secret, warehouse shows, whatever. These are the kind of bands that are worth driving for and checking out in a weird house show context. And now that we're in our mid 30s, it's just good mostly to know that this kind of thing is still ongoing and raging.
Speaking of being in our mid 30s, the one thing this made me think of, I know that you didn't try to make a skate playlist, but I thought about this being a mid 30s skate playlist because 40 minutes is probably the maximum amount of time any of us could get away with doing that. So might as well feel like you're in a total Tony Hawk episode and you're like, well, I ran out of music. So that's why I stopped. Not because I need a knee replacement. Yeah.
Like last time we talked about the Putney playlist being for powerlifting. This is a good playlist for like getting outside and riding your bike, or just, doing a little goofy foot push for a little bit until you scrape your knees to hell or totally burn your lungs out, one or the other.
Yeah. So put this on the boom box, put it on the front porch, and go outside and do wheelies with your kid. So
flick your neighbors off.
Yeah. That's the right move, especially if your small child is smoking a cigarette. Then you've aced it.
They vape now,
yeah.
Cliff. They vape.
Cool. All right. So we've covered a new release that we want you to listen to. We've covered a curated playlist. Last thing we always do is cover an organization worth checking out doing heavy work in their community. And so to do that, we always have to spin up a little bit of the topic that we're talking about. And if you've been on the internet at all lately, you're going to be familiar with what we're talking about. Like, we get it.
If you're a doom scroller like us.
Yeah. We still think it's worth bringing attention to here, especially because the whole reason we think this segment is cool is because we can point ourselves towards people doing something about the problem.
Yep.
So
we're bringing you solutions, not problems, people. We're bringing you both, but only both.
Yeah, to be fair, we're bringing you other people's solutions and trying to connect with them so we can actually get something done, because who are we? So about a month ago, in the middle of early voting in Texas, Texas's Attorney General Ken Paxton released this non-binding opinion, which basically grossly mischaracterized medically necessary best practice healthcare for transgender children, and decided to mischaracterize it as literal child abuse. And then the governor of Texas sent a letter to the Department of Family Protective Services directing them to enforce this opinion. And there's a lot to learn about it, including the fact that the ACLU clarifies for us that the governor's statement didn't really have any legal basis and couldn't be enforced under the current law. But this is a really important moment for us to remember that the laws as written aren't the only impact that laws and politics have on our society. Now, people who are trying to care for their transgender children are scared. They're scared of being able to be parents in their own homes. They don't know if they have to be afraid. They don't know how afraid to be. They don't know what this looks like or how it will play out or how any of this will actually happen. And so on top of the fact that this is a really stupid thing, because research is constantly being published that shows the importance of gender affirming healthcare for trans and gender youth, especially. But on top of that, the not knowing portion of what does this mean for me and my family is wildly unacceptable in our reality.
Yep.
And so we want to tell you about Equality Texas. Equality Texas works to secure full equality for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Texans through political action, education, community organizing, and collaboration. Basically, they're doing all the really, really, really hard stuff for the people who really need help and need our help. Yeah.
So if you or somebody you love basically is the parent of a transgender kid and you're more likely to know one than you might think, if somebody doesn't come to mind immediately, we can't encourage you strongly enough to check out the resources on Equality Texas's website, regardless of whether you're in Texas or not. And that's important because frankly, everybody should be familiar with this information just from a literacy standpoint, whether you have kids or not. Cliff, I always appreciate when you take a perspective on caring about kids' issues now that you have a good friend with one. The point that you make often that I love is that we belong to one another, right? And that's the kind of affirming thing that you hear from the stage at punk shows. That was the first time I ever heard validation like that felt really real and from an honest place. And we need to help, once again, like in so many other contexts, protect innocent kids from dangerous people, because even though this is in Texas and you may not be in Texas or know anyone in Texas, it is signaling and it has a ripple effect. There's already laws on the field of play in Ohio, and relatedly, there's the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida and related bills in 3 or 4 other states, including our own, where it's just crass political footballing that has a real downfield effect of violence and harassment for kids and their families. So again, wrap your arms around the issue in order to wrap your arms around the kids, all of whom need to be kept safe at all times.
100%. So you can learn more about Equality Texas at equalitytexas.org. Consider making a monetary donation, because we'll tell you, just like we tell you to give money to bands, give money to nonprofits. That's the best way to help them 100% of the time. But we believe that people deserve access to the health care that they need to survive and thrive, and that we don't really have the right to tell other people what they are and what they are not. And we definitely don't have the right to attack them for existing in any case. And everyone deserves full equality now. So if that's not really clear from us, it should be now. And we need to join up with organizations doing something about it. And just as a personal note from me, and being very vulnerable with a whole bunch of people who have never heard me probably before, if you're around people or in a religious context that tells you that people are worth less because of their gender and sexuality, you owe it to yourself to get out now. You're better off as a human being for it, and you know that it's not right. And you can find a better place to love and care for people than that. Kyle, anything to add before we go?
We love you, and we'll see you in the proverbial or literal pit.
Damn straight.
The mosh pit, not the abyss pit, but maybe that too.
We'll mosh in the abyss. This has been Friday Heavy. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Go to tunedig.com or follow us on Instagram and Twitter for links to the new release, the playlist, and the organization that we talked about today.